All right, let's talk about UFC Fight Night Kape versus Almabayev. I think there's a lot to kind of go through here. There's a lot to digest with this card, so we'll kind of go over the reactions and things like that as we kind of progress and go along here. Like I said, there's a lot to talk about. Let's kind of see. Let's go through the card, talk about future fights, things like that. What I think is lined up for all of these guys, and kind of see what happens. But let's get started. We're actually going to work our way up, and then we'll go into the main event. Charles Johnson versus Ramzan Tirmirov. This was a really decent fight, especially at flyweight. These guys know how to throw. Charles Johnson was starting to pick up on the gas, and Tirmirov was definitely fading as the fight was going on. But Tirmirov picked up the first 2 rounds and eventually defeated Charles Johnson. I mean, we can even look at the rankings and stuff. I do think Tirmirov should get a top 10, top 15-ish opponent. And looking at flyweight, I have plans for Kai Asakura, so I wouldn't do Asakura. Tirmirov is probably going to pick up this 12 slot, and Johnson will fall off or go down to 14 or 15, and Asakura will move up. We'll see. I would actually like to see Tim Elliott versus Tirmirov next. Tim Elliott is no slouch on the ground. I think he could actually give Tirmirov some problems on the ground especially. So I'm curious to see on how that would go. That's probably the next fight for me. Charles Johnson, I think he should still fight within the rankings. I think a fight between him and Josh Van would actually be really good, or Bruno Silva. It just kind of depends on where they place him in the rankings, but I don't hate that. Charles Johnson always comes to fight. He steps in on short notice. Let him fight someone in the rankings still. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't. Then let's take a look at Andrea Lee and JJ Aldrich. I think Andrea Lee should probably step away from the sport. She's on a 6-fight losing streak, and yes, this was kind of a pick 'em fight, but I really didn't see much of a route while watching the fight for Andrea to kind of progress. She's very talented, but I think it's time for her to either consider hanging it up, go into coaching, or, see if the PFL has anything, or the GFL and things like that. It really depends. I feel bad for her. But then looking at JJ Aldrich, I do think JJ Aldrich should probably fight someone in the top 15 rankings. There is Myra Bueno Silva if we're looking at flyweight, but Casey O'Neal's got a fight lined up. Miranda Maverick, maybe. I don't know. I don't know where to put JJ, but that's my mentality. I really don't feel like talking about Danny Silva and Lucas Almeida. I want to keep this one a little more brief, so we'll kind of go from there. It's kind of tit for tat. Same with these. We'll just kind of go. Actually, heavyweights I do want to talk about. Mario Pinto and Austin Lane. Austin Lane was doing really good, actually. He won the first round. He was stunning Mario. Mario didn't know what was happening. And Austin Lane looked really good. I actually thought he was going to carry it into a decision, or he stunned Mario in the first round as well. So I thought he could potentially get the finish middle of the second. But as the second started progressing and Mario started developing a little more confidence in himself and getting those jitters out, because this was his debut post-contender series, he's really picked it up fast, and I don't know if he exactly deserves a ranked opponent yet, but oh my god, the dude has potential like it's nobody's business. Mario Pinto could shoot up the rankings so freaking fast because the division is wide open. It's really just a question of what they would want to do with him. I don't see why not. I mean, you could put him up against a Kennedy Nzechukwu, or if you really wanted to give him a top 10, because he looked so dominant with that knockout. He's got 2 knockouts now, one from the contender series, which was a jab or a check hook, and then this one was just like a right hand from hell. And you could put him up in there with Tai Tuivasa, and that'd be a banger fight. For fun, I throw him in there with Tai. But if you wanted to really do something crazy, you could throw Mario Pinto and Derek Lewis in there too, and that would be such a great fight. Realistically, though, I do think he gets the loser of Shamil Gaziev and Sergey Spivak. I believe they have a fight lined up next to each other. I think that's the next match. Yeah. It's unofficial. Yeah, I think it's unofficial, but yeah. So that's unofficial. It is rumored to be happening. I think he should get the loser of that fight and then move up the rankings that way. But I want to eventually see Mario Pinto and Tai Tuivasa just go at it. Danny Barlow and Sam Patterson. I think Sam Patterson's at a point now where he did come up as an underdog, huge underdog, and won. He was 2-for-1 underdog. I mean, the guy stunned a lot of people. I'd actually like to see him fight in the welterweight rankings too. A lot of these people who won tonight definitely deserve welterweight ranking shots. Sam Patterson versus Vicente Luque is really fun. Michael Morales as well would be really, really nice. So either way, I'm kind of curious to see what happens here. Hyder Emil and William Gomez, you couldn't go wrong with either guy getting a top 15 opponent. I actually think the winner here, so Hyder won. I think he should get the loser of Paddy Pimblett and Michael Chandler. I think that would be a matchup that makes sense. The winner of this fight fights the loser of that fight. And I'd be curious to see what happens there. I think Hyder or William Gomez could really put on a clinic or just have a really good fight against either one of those guys. So I'd be curious to see what happens there. Move up to lightweight and kind of see what happens. I think both guys are pretty decent. But even at featherweight, it kind of depends on, like, you can look at the rankings. Even if we look at the rankings here, like, both these guys put on a clinic of a fight. Dan Igue's got a fight line. Bryce Mitchell versus John Silva is already a fight. That's such a good fight. Yusuf Zalal maybe, or Giga. I don't mind them fighting the loser of that, whoever is their next fight too. Giga Chikadze I think has a fight lined up. He does. So I wouldn't hate for them to fight though. Let me see. Let's just take a look at Giga. Giga I think has a fight unofficially announced as well. So I think a Giga fight. I think he's fighting. I don't remember. Edson Barboza's a fight that could be in there as well. Edson's not ranked, so if you wanted to give them an unranked opponent, you could do Hyder Emil versus Edson Barboza. That'd be a really, really good fight. I'd sign up for that one. Or Gomez, either one. But then let's move into lightweight, kind of the same argument. Nasrat Haqparast versus Esteban Ribovics. I think Haqparast should fight someone in the rankings now, and he should fight the loser of Chandler or Pimblett, or the loser of Gaethje and Fiziev. With Esteban Ribovics, I think... Selfishly, I want to see a rematch of him and Daniel Zellhuber. But I actually think Esteban Ribovics versus Guram Kutateladze would be such a fun fight. I think that's a great fight. And so that's something I'd be very interested in seeing down the line. And also to kind of go back to the featherweight rankings a little bit, I know we're a little all over the place. I actually would like to see William Gomez versus Alexandre Topuria. I think Topuria should go up to 145, pick up his brother's legacy, and fight the winner of this. Either fight Hyder or William. Yeah, so we got Nasrat. We got Esteban. Their fights lined up. I think it's just really easy. I think you could do Esteban and Guram, and that would be such a fun fight. Cody Brundage, Julian Marquez. This one's a little tricky because neither guy is ranked to my knowledge. I don't believe. Yeah, neither one is ranked. Brundage is not my favorite fighter. I think I'm sure he's a decent guy and all that. I don't know if I really want him fighting a top 15 opponent. I actually think I would like to see Cody Brundage fight the winner of Bo Nickel and Renee de Ritter. I know they have a fight that's unofficially announced, but it's lined up. I actually would like to see Cody fight the winner of that fight or the loser, either or. Julian Marquez, I don't know what to do with him. I actually think he should possibly move up to light heavyweight or go down to welterweight. He's a big dude. So I don't know what his weight cuts look like, but I just don't know if middleweight really is the division for him. Going to the main event now, we've got Asu Almabayev versus Manel Kape, Flow State Kape, as I like to call him. This fight was definitely really, really good. And also, by the way, this fight deserved fight of the night. Both these fights could have been fight of the night. No complaints. Such a good card. We'll talk about it. Manel Kape versus Asu Almabayev. Great fight. Manel just looks so good. He's fast. He's technical. He's so good. He's truly world champion potential. I think Asu Almabayev should fight Kai Asakura. Kai does not have a fight lined up. I think that'd be a really fun fight between those two guys. Both just lost. So why not let them run it? And the winner gets someone in the top 5 rankings, like a Brandon Moreno or like even Kai Asakura versus Brandon Royval. I wouldn't hate seeing, or Kai Kara France. But I think Kai's in the waiting wings for a title shot. I think Manel Kape is now in the waitings for a title shot. But I do think Asu Almabayev should fight a Kai Asakura and see what happens there. Kai clearly couldn't handle the grappling of and even the striking of Pantoja. So, and I thought he could. But I think it is what it is. I think Almabayev and Asakura would be a great fight. You could stick that on a co-main event somewhere and kind of go from there. I think Manel Kape should fight for the title. I think there are no questions. He is a star in the making. I have been high on this dude for a while now. Yes, he lost to Muhammad Mokaev, but then his fight against Silva in Tampa was a clinic. Almabayev, a clinic. But you look at this guy's history, too. Like, other than his fight against Mokaev, and I think Mokaev is wicked talented, I think Kape just wasn't there that night. You have those off nights, so it happens. But you look at this guy's, like, track record. Zala Zumagulov, Ode Osborne, Matthias Nicolau. He lost to Pantoja in a decision, which is nothing to be ashamed of. But you look at this guy's, like, track record. He lands at a 56% clip. He can get takedowns and everything like that, but he's got a 77% takedown defense rate. I mean, it's tough to also argue against Manel Kape getting a title shot. I think he's lined up to get a title shot, and he does deserve one. I really do believe that. I think Manel Kape versus Alexandre Pantoja is the fight to make. Or if Pantoja would like to move up and fight Merab, which is a fight I did call for, I'd like to see Merab and Pantoja go at it and let Pantoja have the opportunity to fight for a second title and move up, potentially. I don't think he has much more to prove. Then let Manel Kape and Kai Kara France go at it for the undisputed flyweight championship. I think that's a fantastic fight. They both have some beef. And I would love to see Manel Kape and Kai Kara France go at it for the undisputed title. And let Pantoja go and fight Merab. Again, Pantoja has nothing to prove. Kai Kara France was an option because, hey, they need somebody. Now Manel Kape is a star in the making, so Pantoja might stick around for that Manel Kape fight and let Kai Kara France wait. Who knows? But the card overall was so good. It was so good. This is truly deserved fight. Then I was on the edge of my seat. The knee that Ribovics landed in the third. Nasrat just looking good and slick with his boxing. His work in Canada at TriStar has really paid off for Nasrat. It's paid off in spades. So I'm glad to see him start really picking up the momentum. Hyder Emil William Gomez, like I was talking about, like this card really, the main card delivered. It delivered on all scales. So I was really happy to see what was going on here. And the prelims were a bit of a duds. Charles Johnson versus Ramzan was really good. And then you had Andrea Lee. Danny Silva was okay with Lucas Almeida. Ricardo Ramos was okay. Austin Lane Mario Pinto delivered because that scary knockout. Like, I actually thought Austin was going to be stretched out. That was really scary. But the main card just absolutely delivered. It was such a privilege to watch that fight for free, basically. It was such a good fight. A lot of these fights would have been pay-per-view bangers. Yeah, Almabayev just ran a lot of it, and that's why the fight got stopped. Manel just looking as good as he did. Give the man a title shot. I mean, overall, I thought UFC Fight Night Apex was truly such a good event. So hats off to the UFC for making such a good card. I said this one was going to be good. Way better than pay-per-view. Way better than last week's with Cejudo and Yadong. Even better than before with Cannonier and De Silva. Yeah, this was a great night. We got some really great fight cards. This one and we got the next one lined up. So we got fight week coming. So I'll thank you guys so much. Truly was a great card. So I'll see you guys when we talk about the next at the ending of the next pay-per-view with Ankalaev and Pereira, and we'll talk about next fights then. And we also do have our Twitch where we will do fight sims. You can check them out on my TikTok, all that kind of stuff. So I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.